In the evening, Yu brought two people to a steakhouse. Looking at the blood-soaked steak in front of Zhao Xuime, she gagged. Yu casually remarked, "You'll get used to it after vomiting a few times." Used to it? How could I get used to this? Fang Ping couldn't help but mutter in dissatisfaction. Seeing such a bloody scene and then being invited to eat a steak still covered in blood, it's definitely intentional. Yu continued, "You and Diaquat can only eat dried rations or raw food. If you have an energy mine, you can cook the food, but it won't be as good as exchanging it for pills." Then, Yu turned to Fang Ping and asked, "How does it feel to carry corpses around every day?" Fang Ping was silent for a moment before replying, "It feels like being a martial artist, but it's not as glamorous as people think." Yu asked further, "Have you ever thought about participating in a life-or-death battle? Those kinds of battles could help you accumulate some combat experience and be very useful in improving your strength." Fang Ping immediately broke into a sweat. This situation was too sudden. Zhao Xuime, who was beside him, quickly raised her hand, signaling that she could join. Yu gave her a helpless glance before turning back and saying, "No, you're too weak." Zhao Xuime was not convinced and immediately retorted loudly, "I'm not weak. I'm at level 4 in body training, skilled in basic combat techniques, and my skills are almost on par with the combat stage. I'm not afraid of the people in today's life and death arena." Yu calmly replied, "Whether you're afraid or not is not important. What's important is that you haven't really come into contact with blood yet." Before she could finish speaking, Zhao Xuime frantically shoved the steak into her mouth, trying hard not to vomit, but in the end, she couldn't hold it in and ran to the bathroom. Fang Ping was confused, wondering why Zhao Xuime was so eager. Yu explained, "Suimi's father was a level 4 martial artist who died in a battle at Thianam Diaquat. Now, every force is trying to get a piece of the business her father left behind. Without power, she can't protect her family's legacy. That's why she longs for strength." Then, she looked at Fang Ping and added, "She's not like you. You don't have any drive at all." Fang Ping shuddered and quickly retorted, "I have drive too." Yu smiled. "Not wanting to die is also a kind of motivation." Fang Ping rebutted, "What do you mean by a kind of motivation?" Yu rested her chin on her hand and said, "If you're too afraid to enter a life-or-death battle, how about trying a regular match?" Fang Ping felt helpless. She had said all this, what else could he do? "Well, try it out then." In the underground arena, the noise never stopped. The arena owner smiled and said to Fang Ping, "Don't be nervous, brother. A regular match is pretty safe. Normally, they won't intentionally kill anyone." Fang Ping asked, "Boss, I just want to know, will there be a reward for winning?" The boss paused for a moment, then said, 50,000 per match. "It's not much, but you can still place a bet." He whispered to Fang Ping, "The opponent your master picked for you is an experienced top-tier first-level martial artist. The odds are at least 3 to 1. Fang Ping suddenly became excited. "In that case, I'll bet 1 million on myself." "I'll bet 5 million on you," she said. "If you lose, you'll owe me." The teacher escorting him added. Fang Ping remained silent. This teacher was gambling with her student's life. At that moment, Zhao Xuime also appeared. "I'll bet 1 million on you, Fang Ping." "Good luck." Fang Ping suddenly felt like he might vomit blood. Just then, the announcer's voice rang out, "Good evening, handsome gentlemen and beautiful ladies. Let's welcome the two fighters to the stage." The entire audience roared with excitement. The announcer continued, "Let's give a warm welcome to the undefeated king of boxing, the peak martial artist Hakdi." As soon as he finished, a man with a distinct scar stepped forward with an imposing presence. The audience cheered and shouted his name. The announcer followed, and now, a brave newcomer, the Sword King, Fang Ping. Fang Ping smiled and waved to the crowd, but the audience responded with the universally recognized gesture of disappointment. Zhao Xuime, trying not to laugh, commented, "What a silly name. Why isn't he using a sword if he's called the Sword King?" Yu, on the other hand, thought the name wasn't stupid. Fang Ping intentionally used a familiar impression to mislead his opponent. Yu explained to Zhao Xuime, saying, for example, "Nail Chin is very good with a spear, but he can also teach you other weapons. Tang Feng's fists and kicks are formidable, but he's also skilled with weapons. You all think Nailchin doesn't have any restrictions. Tang Feng's fists and kicks. Those two people will let you slaughter them however you want. So, be careful or you'll die without even knowing why. After speaking, she turned to Zhao Xuimei. Learn from this. In the future, don't just think about your enemy's nickname. Zhao Xuimei quickly took out her notebook and started taking notes. In the arena, Fang Ping still used his signature move, as usual, pretending to be weaker at the start. After a while, Fang Ping's attack made Hakti frown. Can you stop talking nonsense? Just then, the bell rang, signaling the start of the match. Before Hakti could react, Fang Ping jumped in front of him and landed a blow. Hakti quickly raised his hands to block, but the kid had already taken the initiative. Fang Ping didn't give Hakti any chance to breathe and launched another punch. Hakti could only keep defending, thinking to himself, this kid's not a middle-tier first-level martial artist. The audience below, eager for the fight, shouted, counterattack, Hakti. Don't go easy on the rookie. At that moment, Fang Ping suddenly squatted down and said, watch this. Annoyed, Hakti quickly lowered his right hand, only for Fang Ping to land a hook straight to Hakti's jaw. Hakti spat out blood and staggered back, stepping hard with his left foot to steady himself. Taking advantage of the opening, Fang Ping quickly threw another punch straight to Hakti's face. In a critical moment, Hakti had no choice but to raise both hands again to block. A smirk spread across Fang Ping's face. His blood quickly condensed at his right foot, and the next second, a powerful and bloody kick was unleashed. Hakti, shocked, immediately shouted, I surrender. Fang Ping's right foot stopped beside Hakti's head, and with a thud, Hakti collapsed to the ground. I admit defeat, he said. Fang Ping clasped his hands together in submission. The entire arena went silent, and the audience stared, unable to believe their eyes almost popping out. Zhao Xuimei also clenched her fists in front of her chest, astonished. The next moment, the entire audience suddenly erupted in excitement. Yinobang calmly observed the scene. In less than a minute, the battle had little benefit for Fang Ping. It seemed something more stimulating needed to be done. Finally, the task could be accomplished. Fang Ping was assigned as the team leader. Fang Ping said, I'll carry the load, you all just relax. At that moment, Fang Ping was at the reward exchange, ready to collect his prize. A man pushed a suitcase towards him, saying, this is 3.05 million. The counter won't be responsible if anything falls out. Count it carefully. As Fang Ping touched the suitcase, a sound rang out, the system notification. His asset value increased. Looking at the system interface in front of him, Fang Ping smiled in satisfaction. Earning so much money in just a minute was truly amazing. Suddenly, another system notification rang, and his asset value exceeded 10 million. The system level upgraded. The interface quickly shattered and upgraded successfully. It reconnected, and several words appeared on the screen. New feature unlocked, I code. Fang Ping thought, this means he could now directly use the system to code. Normally, Tokat was a very complex and dangerous process, but he decided to try it. Fang Ping immediately focused and performed Tokat. His entire body's vitality surged, and in the blink of an eye, the system sound echoed. Tokat succeeded. Fang Ping felt the change in his body and truly felt the progress. If it really only took a moment, didn't that mean he could reach the peak of 3rd grade? At that moment, the system sounded again. Expenditure of 100,000 assets. Fang Ping immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. 1%, he thought. A bone alone had cost 10,000. If this continued, forget about 3rd grade. Just reaching 1st grade peak would cost at least 10 million. Immediately, 2 streams of tears flowed down his face. Indeed, nothing was easy. That night, Yu took the two of them back to Manhwa. On the way, Fang Ping tried to get some money from Yu and Zhao Xuimei, but it was in vain. When he heard that charming Zhao Xuimei could bring in a lot of money, Fang Ping smiled and gave up. The next day, at Manhwa's logistics office, where tasks were assigned, the members of the special training class gathered. Tang Feng said, the mission authority of you all has been activated. Over the next month, you can come here to receive tasks. The students were all very excited. Great! Finally, we can receive tasks. Fang Ping smiled, thinking, this is good. It will give us another way to accumulate asset value. Suddenly, a loud shout interrupted. What's going on here? After a month of training, you're still so sluggish. It turned out to be the headmaster, Huangjing, arriving. Huangjing walked forward and said sternly, the situation in hell is getting tense. The demand for strong individuals is growing. Cultivating strong individuals requires many resources. You must win in the exchange competition for the school to receive enough resources to cultivate even more powerful individuals. He then added, therefore, you kids must prepare well. Understood? Understood. The students stood at attention. Tang Feng continued, next, you'll be divided into 5 teams. Each team will be guided by one advisor. The team that completes the most tasks will receive an additional 100 points for learning. Moreover, the top 10 students will represent Mao in the exchange competition this year. He then called out loudly, Fang Ping, Zhou, Fu Chengding, Yang Soman, Chen Yonzi, and 5 of the students who had outstanding strength were chosen as team leaders. Everyone, familiarize yourself with the list and get to know each other. Fang Ping's team consisted of Jiaxu Mei and Dang Songjiang, who ranked at the top of the special training class, while 3 others, Zhang Hao, Zhang Ping, and Li Dashing, were at the bottom of the ranking. Fang Ping was slightly uncomfortable. Aside from Jiaxu Mei and Dang Songjiang, the others are weak. Was this grouping done on purpose to make things harder for me? Fu Changding ran over to put his arm around Fang Ping's shoulder, saying, why the long face? I heard they set this up in advance to balance the strength of the teams. Zhu Xiaopiang stepped forward and said, I'm your advisor. During the mission phase, you'll decide what tasks to take, but my job is just to make sure you get back alive. Just after the team was formed, a disagreement arose. Fang Ping said, I'm the team leader, so I'll make the decisions. Anyone who doesn't like it can challenge me to a solo fight. At that moment, Zhu Xiaopiang spoke again. I won't interfere with other matters, so don't ask for my opinion. Fang Ping wondered if this indifferent attitude was meant to be fair. Advisors weren't supposed to guide their own students, right? Zhu Xiaopiang appeared older, and since Manhwa wasn't as popular with schools, he didn't have many students, but his strength was certainly trustworthy. Fang Ping tapped on the device screen to enter the mission system. There were 4 types of missions: military missions, bounty missions, police missions, and school missions. The difficulty decreased from military to police to school. School missions weren't necessarily easier, but the rewards were linked to the difficulty. Looking at the list of available missions, Fang Ping thought about which one to choose. Missions were very important, and a month would pass quickly. Other teams would definitely be looking for high-reward missions. The key was to find a balance between time, difficulty, and reward. Still, he decided to start with the simpler tasks for practice. Having made his decision, Fang Ping immediately clicked on the screen to accept a mission to capture the top-ranking wanted criminal, a first-grade martial artist. When Dang Songjiang saw that Fang Ping had chosen such a simple mission, he was displeased. Just a first-grade mission? Our strength isn't bad. The result will affect our chances in the exchange competition. With such a small reward, there won't be much left after we divide it among the team. If you want to be cautious, we should at least take a second-grade mission. Fang Ping glanced at him coldly. Have you ever fought a second-grade martial artist before? Dang Songjiang immediately fell silent, realizing he hadn't. Then where's your confidence coming from? Fang Ping continued, this isn't a competition. The wanted criminals will fight back. If anyone is attacked while going alone, they could die. Even if you don't care about people's lives, if someone dies, the next mission will be harder. Dang Songjiang casually responded, it won't be that bad. Aren't we supposed to have an advisor with us? Zhu Xiaopiang, however, remained silent, not responding. Fang Ping glanced at Zhu Xiaopiang without showing any particular attitude. Then, he scanned the others with a sharp gaze, saying, I'm the team leader, so I'll make the decisions. For the next month, everyone must listen to me. I don't want to play democratic voting games with you. If anyone has a problem, you can challenge me one-on-one. Dang Songjiang gritted his teeth in discontent, but said nothing in the end. Fang Ping looked at the mission description and stated, "The target of this mission is a man named Linking. According to the document, the last place he was spotted was in the backed-in area. Also, he has a gambling addiction. Therefore, the plan is to search the underground casinos in backed-in." Jiaxuimai spoke up, "But there are a lot of casinos in backed-in. What if we can't find him?" Fang Ping replied, "If we can't locate him within 3 days, we'll abandon the mission and accept a penalty of a 10% reduction in rewards. Everyone, prepare yourselves, we leave in an hour." After finishing, he turned and walked away. Watching Fang Ping's retreating figure, Dang Sonjiang and Zhang Hao whispered to each other, "The reward points aren't worth the time spent searching. So cowardly. What choice do we have? He's the team leader. Looks like we just have to bear with it." A while later, the team arrived in the backed-in area. At one underground casino, Fang Ping coordinated through the headset. First, split into groups to search. If you spot the target, don't act alone. Notify the other groups first. Once we regroup, we'll make our move. Team B Zhaoxuime reported, "We're in the main hall. No sign of the target yet." Zhang Ping coughed. "The smoke here is too thick. We're in position at the back door, but it seems like the casino staff is already watching us." Through the headset, some voiced concerns, "We're students with no experience. Even in disguise, we stand out too much here." Fang Ping reassured them, "Don't stress. Just avoid acting suspiciously. At worst, we'll just get questioned. Keep searching." He then sighed helplessly. As expected, during real missions, everyone starts to panic and reveals their severe lack of experience. Fang Ping turned around and saw Ju Sa-pyong standing in a corner, entirely detached as if he were just an outsider. Fang Ping looked at Ju Sa-pyong's cold, expressionless face and wondered if the man would help in case of unforeseen circumstances. No, he thought, probably not. At least, not until everyone else is completely wiped out. After all, the deaths and injuries of students might be exactly what Martial Arts Academy wants to see. Behind this logic was a cold principle of equivalent exchange. Regardless of how much they emphasize life and death to new students, in the end, it's just rhetoric. Danger and death are mere abstract concepts until they happen right in front of you. But if sacrificing a few weaker students leads to the awakening of the elite new students, it's a profitable trade. Why are new students participating in this exchange tournament and not stronger third-year students? Because new students are weak, and their deaths aren't significant losses. But if they manage to make a name for themselves in the competition, the academy will value them more. So it's worth trying this exchange. Fair, yet cold, Martial Arts Academy operates this practically. At that moment, a voice came through the headset. "Team leader, this is Team B. We've spotted the target." Fang Ping immediately ordered, "Follow him closely and notify the others. Everyone, move to converge there. Do not act until we're all assembled." However, Dang Sonjiang had already made his move. Fang Ping was a suitable candidate for team leader, but overly cautious. "Is that so? Then let's cause some trouble for him," thought Dang Sonjiang. Earlier, Dang Sonjiang spotted the mission target but acted on his own. Before Fang Ping and the others could arrive, Linking had already been killed by Dang Sonjiang. Dang Sonjiang complained, "We wasted so much time for a reward of just 120,000 points. The points we earned are hardly worth it. I told you, with our strength, we should take on harder missions." Fang Ping sternly responded, "I already told you to wait until everyone was present before taking action." Dang Sonjiang retorted, "The target wasn't strong. I could handle him alone. There was no need to wait for everyone. Besides, if the target escaped, would you take responsibility? Stop wasting everyone's time just because you're the leader." This time, Zhaoxuime was upset and scolded Dang Sonjiang. "What do you mean? If it weren't for Fang Ping's deduction of the target's location, how could you have caught him so quickly? Everyone else was helping too." Dang Sonjiang argued, "This mission has already cost us a lot of resources and manpower. And in the end, no one earned much from the reward." Jiaxuime snapped angrily, "How can you say that? Fang Ping did it for everyone's safety. None of you want accidents to happen and end up dead, right? If you're so afraid of dying, then why become martial artists?" At this point, Dang Songjiang stood up and furiously shouted at Fang Ping, "Team leader, remember that we're martial arts academy students, martial artists, not cowards afraid to take risks." Fang Ping coldly stared at Dang Songjiang, saying, "If you're dissatisfied, you can leave now. I'll request the school to assign you another mission. Anyone else who wants to leave can go with him." Dang Songjiang gritted his teeth, silently cursing, "Damn it! If it weren't for him having killed 2 peak first-grade warriors, I would have taken him down long ago." Looking at the others, who seemed comfortable, Fang Ping's expression turned serious. The first mission was too easy, so easy that everyone's overconfident now. That's not good. In the principal's office, several advisors were reporting. Chen Yunxi might not be suitable as a team leader. She lacks decisiveness. Fu Changding is decent. He knows how to manage relationships with teammates and considers everyone's opinions during missions. Jono tends to act alone and has taken on an extremely difficult mission. Yang So-man is average. Fang Ping is very capable, a suitable team leader candidate, but he's a bit overly cautious. The principal responded, "Keep observing Fang Ping. Isn't he quite steady? Let's give him a slightly more challenging mission next time. I want to see how he reacts to danger. Will he run, ask for help, betray his teammates, or fight to the death? Raising an elite takes time. There's much more to observe." Fang Ping's team returned to the mission assignment area. Ju Xiaopiang announced, "For this mission, Dang Songjiang gets 25% of the reward. The 2 who found the target share 25%, while the remaining 7 share the remaining 50%. Liu Dashing grumbled, "So does that mean we're doing this mission for free?" Dang Songjiang stepped forward and said, "It's fine. Our second mission is to take on a peak first-grade task. That way, everyone can earn more rewards." He then looked at Fang Ping with a dismissive expression. "Am I right, Captain?" Fang Ping lowered his head and said nothing. Dang Songjiang walked to the computer and said, "We'll choose this mission ourselves." The mission details popped up. The target was a peak first grade, a high-risk target with a reward of 15 credits. Looking at the mission description, the group discussed, "This mission isn't bad. The credits are more than usual for tasks of this kind. With all of us working together, taking down a peak first grade shouldn't be hard. Let's choose this one." Fang Ping glanced at the mission board, furrowing his brow. The reward for this mission was significantly higher than the others. Why would a peak first-grade criminal need 3 peak first-grade individuals to form a team? A cold sweat trickled down Fang Ping's face. This mission isn't right. Immediately, he glanced at the video screen, wondering how their instructor could not see the problem with this task. But since the instructor didn't say a word, it meant the mission was either safe, or they were intentionally being given a problematic task. Fang Ping said, "We can take this mission, but I need to remind everyone. Given the high reward, the target is definitely not ordinary. If we can't beat him, we retreat immediately. Survival is the priority to complete the mission." Dang Songjiang replied, "Got it. We're not going to seek death. We're students from the top martial arts school. Besides, he's just a peak first grade. We have so many people, there shouldn't be any issues." Fang Ping stayed silent, hoping he was overthinking things. Meanwhile, no one noticed Ju Supiang's smile. The next day, everyone arrived at the rendezvous point. Fang Ping clenched his fists, thinking that his blood energy had reached 290 points, equal to a typical second-grade martial artist. As long as they didn't panic and make mistakes, they could fight, even against a second-grade opponent. However, Fang Ping's team didn't expect that the mission would nearly cost them their lives from the start. Just now, Fang Ping's team arrived at the mission location in the eastern outskirts. Fang Ping looked at the military information and said, "Shaifeng is likely hiding here, a village near the port. I think he's planning to escape by sea at night." Jiaxu Mei looked at the military information in surprise. "The address is this detailed? Did the military assign this task to the school because they're short on people?" Fang Ping rubbed his chin, pondering. "It seems more complicated than that. This mission should have gone to the investigation department, but now it's under the military. Perhaps Shaifeng killed a martial artist connected to the military. The military can't spare anyone above a second-grade martial artist right now." Ju Xiaopiang spoke up. "You're right. On one hand, the military wants to provide training opportunities for newcomers. On the other hand, they're sending a warning. Some new martial artists, with a bit of ability, think they're above others. They kill, burn, and bully the weak, not caring for human life. The military's investigation is giving these tasks to martial arts students, so you can understand that no matter how high your status as a martial artist is, if you make a mistake, you'll face corresponding consequences. Fang Ping thought to himself, indeed, the power of martial artists can't be underestimated. Even a beginner's strength can significantly affect society. Martial arts schools train large numbers of martial artists directly. Through these missions, students learn about power and responsibility. This approach really fits the worldview of this world. Fang Ping then began to plan the daytime strategy. If we mess up here, it will cause a lot of unnecessary attention, just like before. We should start searching at night. Xiaoqing then said, I think we should act during the day. Fang Ping was surprised. Why? Xiaoqing explained, during the day, the people in the town are all at work, so it won't cause a commotion. Also, the target is planning to take the water route at night, so right now, he must be waiting at some location. If we go to the location the military provided, we can investigate and gather clues. If the target shows up, we can take him down together. Hearing Xiaoqing's analysis, Fang Ping smiled. The previous mission's target was discovered by him. Although his strength wasn't the greatest, he was calm and observant. Unlike Dang Songjiang, it seemed their team had a strategist now. With that, Fang Ping decided to move out according to Xiaoqing's plan. A group quickly made their way toward the target's location, arriving at a simple wooden house by the shore. Fang Ping assigned Zhao Yuhong, Weak Ping, and Jian Hao to guard outside. Don't let anyone get close. Then he turned to Dang Songjiang, you knock on the door. Dang Songjiang was startled. He didn't expect Fang Ping to have him go first. Fang Ping grinned, with your strength, you're one of the strongest among us. You won't get killed just by opening the door. Plus, we'll divide the rewards based on contributions. The one who takes the lead will definitely get a higher reward. Dang Songjiang awkwardly rubbed his nose. That's true. When it matters most, it still depends on me. At this point, Jiang Hao asked, where's the instructor? Should we continue without him? Fang Ping sighed and replied, it seems my guess was right. Let's keep going. Some of them hid by the door while Dang Songjiang stepped forward and knocked, is anyone home? You threw trash in front of our door. Take care of it. There was no response. Dang Songjiang knocked again, don't stay silent. I know you're home. Still no response. What now? Dang Songjiang turned to Fang Ping, who signaled him to keep going. Dang Songjiang knocked harder and shouted, open the door. If you don't, I'll call the police. Finally, there was a voice from inside, I haven't thrown any trash here. This has never happened before. You're the first to come. Open the door. At that moment, Fang Ping suddenly felt a surge of power, his blood energy fluctuating. He shouted, move back, and pulled Dang Songjiang away. The next moment, a loud explosion rang out as the door flew off, creating a large hole. A man quickly charged out of the house. Wasn't this the target of their mission, Shifeng? Shifeng moved extremely fast. Before anyone could react, he dashed straight toward the beach. Hurry, chase after him, Fang Ping shouted. To everyone's surprise, one of the martial arts instructors was so cold-blooded that he forced a high-level criminal to fight with students. Just moments ago, Fang Ping's team had been targeting Shifeng, but now, Shifeng had broken down the door and fled. Fang Ping's team quickly chased after him. Dang Songjiang swung a strike at Shifeng. You can't escape. Shifeng crouched to dodge. At that moment, Fang Ping moved quickly and positioned himself in front of Shifeng. Fang Ping kicked, but Shifeng swiftly avoided it. He had no intention of engaging with Fang Ping and continued running toward the beach. However, Zhao Xume had already been waiting for him at the shore, holding a long stick, ready to fight. Shifeng quickly braked when he saw her, assessing the group surrounding him. He thought to himself, it seems these are martial arts students, not the military or the investigation bureau. They are underestimating me, but it doesn't matter. I'm here to complete the mission, and with so many students around, it shows their strength isn't impressive. I shouldn't waste time on them, but I can't afford to let anyone follow me either. With that thought, he charged toward Jiaxuime. Jiaxuime prepared to strike, but Shifeng smirked. His blood energy gathered in his right hand. Seeing this, Fangping immediately yelled, "Suime, get out of the way!" Jiaxuime was startled but quickly jumped to the side. Shifeng continued his charge toward the beach. Dang Songjiang was not pleased. "Why did you let Suimi dodge?" The target was about to be captured. Fangping's expression darkened. "This target is stronger than we thought." If she hadn't dodged, Suime would have died from his attack. That's his second-grade bone technique. He's already perfected it. Jeoking and Wukibeng were both shocked. No way, the mission description clearly stated he was a peak first grade. Dang Songjiang yelled, "Don't be afraid. Even if he's second grade, he's still a beginner. If we fail, we'll lose credits. Don't let him get away." Shifeng heard this and was slightly surprised, thinking, "They don't know I'm second grade." He sneered, mocking, "So martial arts students today are this clueless. It seems it's finally the end for them." Fangping was also suspicious. The mission description clearly stated the target was a peak first grade. So how had he suddenly turned into a second grade? Was the mission system malfunctioning? At that moment, Shifeng had reached the beach, grinning as he thought, "Good thing I'm clever. I prepared a boat to escape ahead of time." Suddenly, he froze, sensing a terrifying surge of blood energy coming from the boat. Shifeng's face changed in fear. The blood energy is too strong. His legs buckled as he dropped to his knees. He couldn't believe what he saw inside the boat. What grade was this? Fourth? Fifth? No, it couldn't be. It felt like sixth grade. The presence in the boat gradually faded. Shifeng gritted his teeth, drenched in sweat. Martial artists and students from the Martial Arts Academy are here. They must be using me for training. At that moment, Shifeng calmed down, thinking, "Either way, I'm dead. I might as well fight back with everything I've got." Some of the group saw Shifeng suddenly stop and became suspicious. Fangping also sensed the powerful blood energy coming from the boat. His brows furrowed. "That blood energy, it's from Instructor Ju Sa-pyong. He's forcing the target to fight us." Fangping was angry. The instructors of the Martial Arts Academy are really cold-blooded. They've seen too many life-and-death situations. They only care about their own survival and don't care about the lives of others. If someone in our team gets hurt or dies, it might push the stronger ones to improve. To them, that's worth it. That's why Ju Sa-pyong is using his blood energy to pressure the target into fighting us. Shifeng, now cornered, exuded killing intent and turned, saying, "I'll kill one of them to break even. Kill two, and I'll profit. If I'm going down, I'm taking a few with me." Fangping gritted his teeth. "If we complete the mission, I'll settle the score with Ju Sa-pyong." Jiangping nervously looked at Fangping. "Captain, do you think we can beat a second grade?" Fangping said grimly, "No matter the outcome, we can only fight now. Don't panic just because he's second grade. As long as we don't let him defeat us one by one, we can win." Fangping shouted loudly. "Everyone else, fall back. Dang Songjiang, Jacques Suime, and I will move forward." Understood. The others quickly halted, while Fangping and the other two charged ahead. Shifeng, seeing the trio approaching, thought to himself, "These three must be the strongest among the students. The one in the middle must be the team leader. He won't be easy to deal with. Let's start with the girl." He turned and dashed toward Jacques Suime. She yelled, "Don't underestimate me," and swung her staff toward him. But with a sharp snap, Shifeng grabbed the staff tightly. Jacques Suime tried to pull it back, but it wouldn't budge. Fangping and Dang Songjiang moved to flank him, forcing Shifeng to leap into action. Shifeng quickly channeled his blood aura into his left hand, and with a burst of strength, even flung Jacques Suime aside. He then evaded a kick from Fangping, while simultaneously raising his left arm to block Dang Songjiang's attack with the staff. What quick reflexes! Those watching from a distance grew anxious. Shifeng was single-handedly overwhelming Fangping and the other two. "This isn't good. Should we go help them?" someone suggested. After a moment of silence, Jeoking said, "Hold on. Follow the team leader's instructions." With a loud thud, Dang Song-jiang hit the ground hard. Shifeng followed up by knocking Jacques Suime to the ground with a powerful strike. Seizing the opportunity, Fang Ping leaped toward Shifeng's back. Gathering his blood aura at the tip of his foot, Fang Ping delivered a fierce kick. Shifeng, using the staff for support, twisted his body and countered with his own kick. With a crack, Shifeng's shoe burst apart, blood splattering everywhere. Shocked, Shifeng quickly retreated several steps, creating distance as pain shot through his left foot. He was surprised. I didn't expect this brat's kick to be so powerful. Suddenly, Dang Song-jiang shouted, bringing a blade down toward Shifeng's neck. Unfazed, Shifeng swung his staff to block the strike, then forcefully knocked the blade away. His strength was overwhelming. Dang Song-jiang's hand went numb from the shock, and before he could recover, Shifeng attacked again, striking his left arm with the staff. A sickening crack echoed as Dang Song-jiang's arm fractured. Clutching his arm tightly, he quickly retreated. At this moment, Fang Ping leaped up, catching the falling knife, then swiftly slashed downward, severing Shifeng's left hand that held the stick. He followed up with a reversed slash aimed at Shifeng's neck. Seeing the knife about to strike, Shifeng unexpectedly turned his body, astonishing everyone. He used his severed arm to block the blade, and then, with his right hand, grabbed the back of the knife, clamping it against his severed limb. What a tenacious man! Fang Ping was stunned. Using a severed limb to seize an opponent's weapon at such a critical moment was an extraordinary tactic, minimizing his cost while neutralizing the opponent's advantage. Shifeng's combat experience was undeniable. Fang Ping quickly called for backup, and the surrounding team members rushed in, overwhelming Shifeng in a chaotic fight. Seeing Shifeng struggling to resist, Fang Ping's lips curled into a faint smile. The gap between first-grade and second-grade martial artists wasn't insurmountable. Now that Shifeng had lost an arm and was severely injured, victory seemed certain. Just then, Shifeng let out a ferocious grin. Supporting himself with one hand on the ground, he laughed weakly. This time, it was my mistake. I didn't expect to be killed by a bunch of brats like you. As soon as he finished speaking, Shifeng suddenly reached out, grabbing Dang Song-jiang's wrist and screamed hysterically, "Even if I die, I'll drag one of you down with me." Dang Song-jiang's face turned pale with fright. "Damn it! He wants to take me down with him, but I don't want to die." Desperate, Dang Song-jiang shouted, "Fang Ping, save me." At the critical moment, Fang Ping acted in time. A sharp cry echoed as Shifeng's eyes instantly lost their light. His body trembled before finally collapsing with a thud amidst the horrified gazes of everyone. Dang Song-jiang was so terrified that his eyes widened. Fang Ping, panting heavily, collapsed to the ground with relief. "Finally, he's dead," he muttered. Zhou Yuhan burst into tears, overwhelmed with emotion. "We finally won. We're all alive. This is amazing." Jacques Suime, however, sobbed with guilt. "It's all my fault. I'm sorry. If I hadn't lost my weapon, everyone wouldn't have been injured so badly." Fang Ping comforted her, saying, "There's no need to apologize. That was a second-grade martial artist. Stealing your weapon was effortless for him." Others chimed in, "Exactly. A second-grade martial artist is too strong. If it weren't for the three of you holding him off, we'd all be dead." Xiaoqing and Zhang Hao, glancing at Dang Song-jiang sitting on the ground, voiced their displeasure. "If it wasn't for Fang Ping, I can't imagine what would have happened to this mission." "Right. Even though we won, the medical costs alone will eat up dozens of study points." Dang Song-jiang, drenched in sweat, pleaded, "Don't look at me like that. I'm seriously injured too." Fang Ping looked toward the small boat docked by the shore and said with a meaningful tone, "It seems we need to have a proper talk with the instructor. How did a peak first-grade target suddenly turn out to be a second-grade martial artist? A team leader must never fear death, or they'll endanger everyone. Just now, our team almost got wiped out. Despite this near disaster, they had successfully completed their mission and eliminated Shifeng. However, Zhu Xiaopiang arrived with his hands behind his back, commenting coldly, 'What a poor performance. 10 people, 3 with alloy weapons, yet you struggled so miserably. And the target wasn't even that strong. Fang Ping, Jacques Suime, or Dang Song-jiang. any of you could have won. Fang Ping sneered. Not that strong, huh? You must think highly of me, teacher. May I ask why the mission described a peak first-grade target, but turned out to be a second-grade one? Is there something wrong with the Martial Academy's mission system? The other members voiced their dissatisfaction, raising their voices in agreement. Jusa Pion, however, remained calm and explained indifferently, "This is normal." Perhaps he broke through temporarily, or the information was inaccurate. From the 15 study points reward, can't you infer the difficulty? The group fell silent. Fang Ping then turned to Jusa Pion and asked, "But teacher, when Shifeng was escaping, someone used blood aura to force him back into the fight. That was you, wasn't it?" Jusa Pion's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected Fang Ping to be so perceptive and quickly deduce his intentions. Yet, he didn't deny it, responding nonchalantly, "Yes, it was me." Fang Ping patted the dust off his pants, stood up, and said slowly, "Carrying out missions is our job. As the instructor, if you don't help, fine, but causing trouble for us is unacceptable." He continued, his expression growing serious, "And don't make excuses. Shifeng wasn't a newly promoted second-grade fighter. The mission information was false from the start." Jusa Pion's eyes flickered. "So, what do you want?" Fang Ping smirked. "I want the mission reward doubled, and the Academy's reward doubled 2-60 study points in total." Jusa Pion scoffed coldly. "You're quite greedy. Even third-grade missions don't offer that much." Fang Ping shrugged. "You're a sixth-grade powerhouse and our instructor. We wouldn't dare act against you. But isn't the Martial Academy a place that upholds rules? If you had simply observed without interfering, we'd have no complaints. But you intervened, nearly causing our entire team's destruction. Isn't that a violation of the rules?" Jusa Pion fell silent. Fang Ping pressed on, "Teacher, I'm guessing you don't have the authority to decide the rewards, right? Then we'll just have to speak with the principal." The others chimed in, voicing their support. Dang Song Jidong, drenched in sweat, muttered, "Fang Ping's truly incredible. He always ensures a top deal." Seeing Fang Ping's unyielding stance, a faint smile appeared on Ju Sopyeon's lips. This kid really knows how to play. But as a team leader standing up for his members' benefits, it's not bad. Stroking his beard, he finally said, "Fine, 60 study points, but just this once." "Teacher is the best," cheered the group excitedly. Fang Ping was hailed as a hero. However, Ju Sap-yeon called Fang Ping back and warned, "I must remind you of one thing. In battle, don't overthink. Fear of losing teammates will only make you die faster." Fang Ping remained silent. The teacher was right. This time, he had hesitated. Facing Shifeng's second-grade strength, he'd thought of retreat rather than risking it all. Turning back, Fang Ping said, "Thank you, teacher, for the advice. As a leader, being afraid of death can indeed jeopardize everyone." The path to strength was perilous, but as a martial artist, how could he retreat? After completing the mission smoothly, Fang Ping and the others returned to the martial arts training hall. Inside the training room, teams were whispering and discussing the completion of each team's mission. Fang Ping, looking at the system interface, was very pleased. The money from before, combined with the reward, had brought their total assets to 11 million. Earning assets through missions was faster than selling medicine. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. "The other team's back." People began to chatter. "I heard they lost one and had 3 injured. Looks like Jono got too carried away and took a second-tier mission." A boy, wrapped in bandages and shivering, spoke up. "The teachers won't intervene unless we're all dead. It seems that in the school, people like us, those without a martial artist backing, don't matter. They only save the elites." One person suddenly grabbed Jono by the collar and shouted, "If you hadn't insisted on taking the second-tier mission, my friend wouldn't have died, and our team wouldn't have been so badly injured." Jono kept his mouth shut, not saying anything. The bandaged boy said in pain. Fang Ping's team also faced a second-tier martial artist, but no one died. Seeing this, Jacques Suimei and Jao King sighed. It seems Fang Ping was right before. The so-called rewards. These missions are just a way to exchange lives. At that moment, Jiang Ping, looking at Fang Ping nervously, said, "Even the school's leaders haven't spoken up. We should rest a few more days." The others also looked at Fang Ping. He sighed helplessly. We can't afford to stop now. We need to take this opportunity to earn more rewards to prepare for future second-tier missions. The strong survive and the weak are eliminated. One step back means you keep falling further behind. Stopping now is equivalent to giving up. He looked around at the group. Anyone want to back out? Everyone fell silent. Suddenly, Dang Songjiang shouted, "We've come this far. There's no backing out now. A small injury like this is nothing. I'll be fine after a couple of chicken drumsticks." Fang Ping smiled inwardly, helpless. Although Dang Songjiang was a bit hasty, he wasn't a bad person at heart. Sui Mi also clenched her fists, speaking with determination. "We're martial artists." Everyone immediately became energized. "Yes, we're martial artists. How can we retreat? Fear isn't my style." Fang Ping smiled in satisfaction. "What's going on here? A second-tier mission and 2 teams are coming. Even the leader of the intelligence department is here." Meanwhile, in the training hall, Fang Ping was receiving a new mission on the computer, surrounded by everyone, all watching him closely. He said, "Now, we'll focus on recovery while taking simple first-tier missions to earn some rewards. Once everyone's injuries improve, we'll switch to alloy weapons and take on second-tier missions." For the next period, Fang Ping's team started completing missions furiously. Missions like sweeping through areas to find missing children, helping a cat cafe, taking care of cats, and apprehending first-tier wanted criminals. After completing one mission, Fang Ping looked at the knife in his hand and thought, as expected, a knife is far more lethal than shoes. It's more suitable for situations like this. At this moment, Dang Songjiang looked at Fang Ping and said, "Fang Ping, you're a bit too ruthless." Fang Ping fell silent. It's all paid for with lives. In the 7 missions completed so far, 4 criminals had been killed, and with the 2 students from their school, they had killed 6 people. In the past, he never would have imagined he'd become so ruthless. Was this the kind of training that would allow him to grow? In the training hall, Fang Ping and the others were discussing the leaderboard, debating the scores displayed on the screen. Even with Shaifeng's double rewards, we only came second last time. No matter how hard we try, the rewards for first-tier missions are still too little. Dang Songjiang looked at Fang Ping and smiled. Everyone's been improving. Maybe we should try second-tier missions. Fang Ping rubbed his chin thoughtfully. According to the system, my average Tokat score is increasing by 2 pieces a day. It's rising quickly, and now it's reached 47 pieces. If this keeps up, I'll soon break 300 points. My blood aura is even higher than many second-tier martial artists. Even if I face another second-tier martial artist, I can handle it on my own. Besides, everyone's improved a lot, especially Dang Songjiang. Therefore, Fang Ping said, "Let's split into 3 groups. Jiao Xuime, Dang Songjiang, and I will take on a second-tier mission. Xiaoqing, Wu Peng, and Zhang Hao, you 5 will take first-tier missions. Zhou Yuhong and Zhang Ping, you 2 are injured, so you'll handle reconnaissance and information gathering. We'll go complete the mission. You 2 will receive 10% of the rewards." Zhang Ping and the other person were overjoyed. If we all did the mission together, we might not even get 5% of the points. But now we get to continue recovering while helping out. The team leader's so considerate. Jiao Xuime asked, "If we split into 2 teams like this, what about the instructors?" Dang Songjiang grumbled, "We can't count on them anyway. They'll only step in if we're all dead." Fang Ping felt helpless. "Let's leave them out of it." Dang Songjiang was still holding a grudge over what happened with Shaifeng. The scene shifted to Fang Ping and the others, 3 people arriving at an abandoned building in Taegang City. Their mission this time was to deal with a second-tier cultist. A cold sweat ran down Xiao Xumei's cheek. Standing here like this, doesn't it seem a bit too obvious? At that moment, several people approached. From their outfits, they seemed to be students from a martial arts academy as well. The leader, with green hair, waved a greeting. "I'm Wang Wanjin from Dongwu Martial Arts Academy." Fang Ping responded politely, "Hello, we're students from the Magu Academy." The green-haired student explained, "We're a team from a local martial arts school in Taegang. We're here for a mission." Fang Ping was surprised. You're all students here. The green-haired student nodded. Yes, our small martial arts school can't gather many new martial artists, so the three schools in Dongwu work together to train and complete missions. The others introduced themselves in turn. Fangping, analyzing their blood aura, realized the strongest of them had around 250 points, close to Dang Songjian's level. He understood now. These were somewhat stronger martial artists, but the situation was still puzzling. Why were two teams here for the same mission? Was there a problem with the mission system? At that moment, with the roar of engines, several cars from the intelligence department arrived. Fangping became even more confused. There was even a leader among them for a second-grade mission. Did they really need to mobilize so many people? After a woman with purple hair and glasses stepped out of the car, she looked toward the group and asked, "Which one of you is the martial artist?" "What? You want us to abandon the mission? Are you joking? I want to see how strong the new martial artist freshmen are." At this moment, a female leader from the intelligence department stepped out of the car and asked, "Which one of you is the martial artist?" Fangping spoke up. "We are the martial artists. I'm the team leader, Fangping." The woman with purple hair looked at Fangping, confused. "This is a second-grade mission. You only have 3 people." The green-haired man was startled. It turned out that they had taken a second-grade mission. Dongwu students were shocked. "You only have 3 people? Why is no one else here?" "But our target is a peak first grade," someone asked. "What's going on? Is there a mix-up?" Fangping also shook his head in confusion. At this point, the purple-haired woman spoke up. "The situation is a bit complicated. Let me explain. Your mission's target is Yao Jincheng, who is a second-grade martial artist. He wasn't operating in this area, but moved to our Taegang recently. Wang Wanjin, your target is Zhang Zhiqiang, who is indeed a peak first grade. But now, because of the cult conference, both mission targets happen to be in this building. As a result, the mission is far more dangerous than initially planned. The latest intel suggests that at least 5 martial artists are inside, but their exact rank is unclear. Additionally, there are dozens of cult members within the department, and they've set up a perimeter outside." After hearing the purple-haired woman's explanation, the Dongwu students looked at each other, cold sweat beading on their faces. But Fangping responded calmly, "Understood. As long as we don't interfere with each other, we'll be fine." Dang Songjian folded his arms across his chest and casually added, "If we still have the energy, we can help each other out." The Dongwu students were left speechless, hearing about such a situation without panicking at all. How could martial artists be this confident? How strong were they? At this moment, the purple-haired woman called out to the green-haired man, "Wang Wanjian, I need to speak with you privately." The green-haired man couldn't believe it. "What do you want?" "We should consider abandoning the mission," the purple-haired woman said. "This is just my personal suggestion. Right now, there is at least 1 second-grade martial artist and a peak first-grade inside, along with other cult members. The martial artists mission was actually issued by the military, and it's much more dangerous than our intelligence department's mission. We had originally planned for you to act together, so it would be easier to complete your first-grade mission. But now, we find that you've only come with 3 people. Martial artists do have good abilities, but in any case, you're all the pride of Dongwu, and we don't want to see you risk your lives. So, if you can, we hope you'll reconsider, or wait until their mission fails or the second-grade target is eliminated. You should head inside." The green-haired man suddenly spoke up. "Is the martial artist really that strong? You're saying they're all first-grade martial artists?" The purple-haired woman replied, "According to the records, even though team leader Fangping is 3 times Tokot, they are all still first-grade." "Well, we really appreciate your kind offer," the green-haired man interrupted. "But I want to witness the strength of these new martial artists." "All right," the purple-haired woman said, looking worriedly at him. "With our encirclement, the cult members shouldn't dare chase after you. But if things go south, retreat immediately. Your survival is the most important." A short-haired male student nervously spoke up. "Wang Wanjin, do we really have to go inside? We're being dragged into this mess with the martial artists." The green-haired man, however, firmly replied, "They're 3 first-grade martial artists, and we can't lose face now." At that moment, someone suddenly pointed to the large gate ahead. Haidwan Wanjin, the martial artists seem to have already gone inside. Why are we still waiting outside? Are they keeping us out? Just then, Zhao Xuimai charged into the building. Moments later, a man suddenly rushed out from inside, panicked. Dongwu students immediately shouted, "Someone's coming out, but it's not the target. Our mission is Zhang Jiqiang, right?" At that moment, Zhang Jiqiang screamed in terror, "You didn't keep your promise, I'm going to fight back." He lunged forward, grabbing one of the students and wildly hitting him. Several others rushed forward to subdue him, but it was impossible to control him. Is he crazy? At that moment, the green-haired man came from behind and choked him out. There was a cracking sound, and Zhang Jiqiang was down for the count. Dongwu's students were completely confused. He said we didn't keep our promise, but we didn't do anything. What's going on here? The green-haired man stood up, thinking that this peak first-grade martial artist shouldn't have died so easily under his hands. Suddenly, he had an idea and quickly turned his gaze toward the large gate. What had happened to Zhang Jiqiang before he encountered them? Real combat was the best way to improve strength. The young man had rapidly gained power, going solo and easily slaying a second-grade martial artist. The green-haired man slowly pushed open the large gate. The next moment, his pupils constricted as he looked inside. The cult members had been completely wiped out. Two Dongwu students walked over and said, "Wan Jin, we should leave now. The second-grade martial artist is the real threat." The green-haired man, momentarily distracted, replied, "Second grade? You mean that guy?" They followed his gaze and saw Yao Jincheng's head lying motionless on the ground. The students were astonished. What a ruthless strike! Did the martial artists take advantage of the situation? It looks like Wang Wanjin was still talking when they finished everything. The scene then cut to Fangping and his group, who were sitting in the car on the way back. Fangping, smiling, said, "Let's summarize what happened in the battle earlier." Both of them were silent. Dang Songjiang finally spoke, "You summarize first." Fangping scratched his chin and said seriously, "I'm thinking if I should switch to a heavier weapon, like an axe or a hammer. If we're talking about killing, a heavier weapon can unleash more power. A knife is just too light." Dang Songjiang's face was filled with disbelief as he slouched into Fangping's seat. "Too light? You didn't tokat again, did you? How is your arm so strong?" Zhao Xuimei looked out the window with a look of disbelief, recalling how Dang Songjiang was dealing with the first-grade martial artist and other cult members, so she didn't see what was happening on Fangping's side. But since she was in charge of keeping watch and the Dongwu members were at the door, she could see clearly. Fangping and Yao Jincheng weren't just wielding swords, they were releasing all their blood energy. In a few short seconds, Fangping had struck over 50 blows, each one exploding with blood energy. The opponent was a second-grade martial artist, not weak in terms of blood energy, but Fangping had exhausted it all using those dozens of strikes. Zhao Xuimei asked Fangping, "Your blood energy isn't used up yet? We are both first-grade, even though you're 3 times tokat. The gap is still too big." Fangping's forehead suddenly broke into a cold sweat, scratching his head as he quickly explained, "Actually, I'm at my limit already. It's because you all handled the other enemies that I could fight with ease." Fangping sighed with relief. He had just released too much blood energy, and Zhao Xuimei had noticed it. But he had managed to cover it up. Soon, Fangping shifted his thoughts, realizing that, if he had enough wealth, theoretically, supplementing blood energy could be endless in battle. Once blood energy was exhausted, the system could replenish it immediately. So as long as he fought using blood energy, he would never lose. At this point, Dang Songjiang commented, "Those cult members are so weak. I still wanted to fight that second-grade guy a bit more." Dongwu's target was Zhang Jiqiang, who was much weaker than Shifeng, and besides, he had seen that Fangping only needed 2 strikes to kill the strongest among them, then collapsed to the ground. The situation was like this. Fangping grinned wickedly, saying, "Bring me the valuable items and stuff. I'll let you go," which is why what happened earlier occurred. Zhang Jiqiang, seeing Dongwu members outside, shouted, "You people don't keep your word." Dang Songjiang added, I told you, just kill him off at that point, and we'd be done. Then he flashed a wicked smile. Anyway, in the end, the valuables weren't even taken by us. Unexpectedly, the cult member, who was fat and well-fed, said nothing. Zhao Xuimai laughed and said, "Fangping, you really care about Dongwu, huh?" Fangping casually replied, "It's nothing, just a casual thing." Meanwhile, over at the abandoned building, Dongwu members were still cheering, happily saying, "The martial arts practitioners really care about us, huh? They purposely left the target for us and even helped us nearly kill him. This time we've made a profit." They didn't expect that Fangping, the one they called, was pretty good. The one with green hair remained silent, thinking maybe his intention was because he was too weak to be worth killing. Back in the vehicle, Dang Sonjiang confidently said, "That strike on Zhang Jiqiang was quite beautiful. But if he's really the top martial student of Dongwu, the national exchange competition isn't something to worry about." At that moment, a bell rang, and all three of their phones suddenly rang at once. It was the current credit ranking. Team Fangping had 132 points. Team Jono had 128 points. Zhao exclaimed in shock, "What? We're only 4 points ahead." The three of them exchanged a knowing look, then quickly turned the car around, heading toward their next mission location. "We can't let Jono catch up. We have to secure first place. The youth leading the team will claim the top spot and fill their bags." Perfect, it's time to change to divine gear. At the martial arts training building, all the trainees were lined up neatly. Huangjing said, "The 1-month deadline has arrived. Now, I will announce the rankings of each team." Team Fangping is in first place with 186 points. The first place team gets an additional 100 points, bringing the total to 286 points. Fangping sighed, "What a pity. If we had completed that last mission, our points could have reached 200. Jiao Xuimei was drenched in cold sweat. "We've done quite well. You should be satisfied." Team Jono accumulated 179 points. Team Fuchangding came second with 150 points. Team Yangsoman came third with 138 points. The last team, Team Qinyungxi, came fourth with 100 points. Throughout the month, all the teachers had observed everyone's performances. Jono, due to his recklessness, caused the death of a teammate. 30% of his earnings would be deducted as compensation for their families. No objections, right? Jono bowed his head in self-reproach, saying, "No objections." Fuchangding and Yangsoman ensured the safety of their teammates and completed their mission, fulfilling their duty as team leaders. Team Fangping, using the strategy of dividing into two smaller teams to accomplish tasks simultaneously, was highly commendable. As for Team Qinyungxi, with the lowest score, their teammates were seriously injured, and the team was disbanded. They need to reflect on their issues. After a month of missions, Huangjing continued, "I believe everyone has gained a lot of experience. Some have sacrificed, some have been injured, and some have returned with their bags full. Martial artists grow through each mission and real combat. Throughout this month, the teachers have been evaluating everyone's abilities to decide who is suitable for the reserve team. I don't need to emphasize the importance of the national exchange competition and its connection to the honor of the school. Now, I will announce the list of those selected for the reserve team, based on the evaluation results. Fangping, Jono, Fuchangding, Yangsoman, Dang Sonjiang, Zhao Xuimei, Sueji, Li Juk. Jono is in the reserve team. Immediately after, Tang Feng closed the document and prepared to leave. The trainees were still confused as to why only 9 people were selected. Tang Feng approached Chen Yongxi and said, "I suggest you transfer to the Arts Academy. Martial arts isn't suited for you. You have good blood energy, and you're among the top in the class, but you lack the qualities needed to become a martial artist. Martial artists must be combative, but your performance has been disappointing. You can't protect your teammates and always retreat when facing enemies." Others around began to talk. "I also think she's not cut out to be a martial master. Even though she comes from a martial family, with plenty of resources, she can't protect her teammates, always retreating when facing enemies." Fangping was also reflecting. Chen Yunsai was a 2-time Tokat martial artist, and her strength was among the top 5 in the class, but her personality was truly weak. Tang Feng was right. Perhaps Chen Yunxi should consider another direction. A moment later, Chen Yunxi shouted, "Teacher Tang Feng, I will try my best. Please let me join the reserve team." Tang Feng slightly smirked. "Then you'll be the last member of the reserve team for the exchange competition." Chen Yunxi was dismissed. Fang Ping looked at the number displayed on the system and felt very satisfied. After last month's mission, his study points had now reached 161, and with the additional ammunition and weapons seized during the mission, his asset value had reached 12.08 million. It was great, so Fang Ping went to the Ma Wu exchange shop. An old man with white hair was playing with a walnut. "Oh, isn't that you, student Fuong? What do you want to exchange for this time?" Fang Ping smiled and said, "My vitality has increased again, and I want to exchange for a heavier, more powerful weapon. I need something more convenient to carry as well. Quite a few requirements." The old man stood up and said, "Follow me." He led Fang Ping to the weapon storage and proudly introduced, "In Ma Wo's exchange shop, there's nothing you can't exchange." He then pointed to a long knife in the cabinet and said, "How about this knife?" The young man, using his bargaining skills, replied, "I want to exchange this divine weapon at a lower price." At the same time, he received the favor of a seductive female teacher and obtained a mid-grade battle technique. This life of cheating is amazing. At that moment, the white-haired old man led Fang Ping to the weapon storage and introduced the Fuangqi blade, which was made entirely of earth-grade alloy, weighing 32 caddies, 1.8 meters long, detachable for easy storage and carrying. Fang Ping stroked his chin, thinking that this blade seemed to meet all his needs. The old man then said, "This good blade will cost you 320 study points." Fang Ping immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. 320 study points is almost equivalent to 10 million in cash. Fang Ping held up 2 fingers. "Too expensive, it should only be 150 study points." The old man clenched his fist and said angrily, "Are you out of your mind? You can't bargain like this." Fang Ping opened his eyes wide, looking pitiful. "Teacher Lai, I don't have many study points left on my card. Can't you give me a discount?" The two then began a fierce negotiation. 10 minutes later, both were sweating profusely, breathing heavily. Soon after, the old man brought out a box containing the Fuangqi blade and scolded, "I can't talk anymore. Take your knife and leave now." The old man tightly gripped Fang Ping's hand, trembling uncontrollably. Fang Ping immediately gave a thumbs up and smiled smugly. "You're the best, teacher." The old man thought, "This little brat knows how to bargain too well." The old weapon exchange was reduced by 90 study points, plus 4.5 million in cash, just enough to break even. Watching Fang Ping leave, the old man thought, freshmen have it hard when it comes to training resources. Saving study points makes sense. He happily opened the door to the room, even using cash. I guess he really doesn't have many study points left. But the next second, student Fang Ping exchanged for 50 regular chai and blood pills, deducted 150 study points, and had only 11 study points left. The old man was furious, his mouth foaming. Damn it, not a bit of saving. Not a bit of poverty. Turns out, the study points were saved up to exchange for pills to sell. In the training room of the practical training building, Fa Changding looked at Fang Ping with envious eyes, staring at the Fuangqi blade in his hand. Fang Ping said, "Not seen you for a few days, and you've already exchanged for a new weapon. Still earth-grade alloy." Fang Ping quickly explained with a smile, "Today's the day for change. As class leader, I have to be well prepared. I can't look down on my opponents." "You're challenging us, right, Soman?" Soman confidently said, "Fang Ping, don't think you're the only one improving." Jono clenched his wooden staff and charged toward Fang Ping. "I become stronger during this training, and this time, the class leader position is mine." A little later, Fang Ping looked at Jono lying on the ground and said, "I didn't even get to use my new knife yet. You said you're stronger." Then he started crying. "I told you not to cry, but you're still crying." Soman, shaking all over, quickly turned away and crossed his arms in front of his chest, pretending to be disdainful. I never said I wanted to be the class leader. Scene transition. Yu called Fang Ping and Zhao Xuimei to her dorm. With less than a month left until the student exchange competition, the current strength of both of you is still too weak. Then she turned to Zhao Xuimei. Xuimei, go and use the second grade key and blood pill for cultivation. Speed up Tokot, 1 pill every 2 days. Before the competition, you must reach peak first grade for a chance. Zhao Xuimei immediately looked embarrassed. 1 pill every 2 days? On Fang Ping's face, a cold sweat dropped. He raised his hand to estimate the market price of the second grade key and blood pill, which was 700,000. Even if using study points to exchange, it would still cost 20 points per pill. In 1 month, the total cost is more than what I spent on the knife. Zhao Xuimei was silent for a moment, clenched her small fist, and said resolutely, I understand. I will complete the foot bone cultivation before the competition and reach peak first grade. Fang Ping also impatiently asked, what about me? Yu yawned. You want to learn higher-level battle techniques, right? Yes, that's right. Fang Ping scratched his head. I've completed the foot bone cultivation at peak first grade, and my toy and blood are at 300 points. My warrior punch skill has reached minor mastery. Yu calmly said, got it. Study the materials on this technique. The middle grade technique introduction. The middle grade knife technique, first form. She then yawned and went upstairs. The techniques you learned before were low level, so you don't need to study the textbooks for middle grade techniques, which involve more detailed theory and complex separation techniques. If you don't understand anything, wait for me to wake up and ask. Fang Ping was dumbfounded, staring at the middle grade battle technique in his hand. Who named this? This name is ridiculous. Yu explained. The Blood Fury Mad Blade was created by Governor Zhang of Nanyang when he was at the 6th grade. I met him before, and he agreed to teach you. Fang Ping stared intently at the Blood Fury Mad Blade, thinking carefully. Simply put, it's a series of explosive moves. The Kill-Eye and Blood Slash technique has 7 strikes in total, with the strongest being 7 consecutive strikes. The last strike will consume all the Ki and blood, and if it hits, the opponent dies or you do. Fang Ping excitedly waved the manual. Looks amazing. It feels like if I control my Ki and blood well, it should be easy to master. Immediately, he grinned wickedly. His vital energy was constantly increasing, and he thought, if that's the case, can't I just keep chopping forever? No one will be my opponent when that time comes. I'm itching to get on the field and test my new knife and new sword technique. The little brat dares to steal my company? He clearly doesn't know his place. You're dead for sure. With 1 strike, he killed the second-grade martial artist. At this moment, Fang Ping was studying the techniques his teacher had given him. The middle-tier martial arts technique used the power of vital energy to greatly increase movement speed. After reaching the stage of battle without obstacles, you could concentrate your vital energy at your feet. Fang Ping was quite satisfied with this footwork technique. If I can't fight, then I'll just run faster. It's perfect for me. However, he wondered how to achieve the battle without obstacles stage. So Fang Ping called Wang Jinyang. Wang Jinyang, I still can't break through. Can you give me some advice? Wang Jinyang replied, the most crucial point for the battle without obstacles stage is controlling the center of gravity of your body. Doesn't the school have a pond? Go there, take some water, and try to adjust your center of gravity until the water doesn't rise above your knees and doesn't spill. If you can do that, you'll break through. At that moment, in the Southern Martial Arts District at the Diaquat entrance, Wang Jinyang hung up on Fang Ping's call. Jin Bongxiang clenched his fist and said, Fang Ping really picked the right time. In a little while, we'll be entering Diaquat, and there won't be any signal. Wang Jinyang replied with pride, it took me months, but I finally wiped out the demon tribe. Now there's just a 5th grade leader left. This time, I'll make sure to kill him. Jin Bongxiang elbowed him. Wang Jinyang smugly added, when I get out of Diaquat, I'll definitely reach the 4th grade. Jin Bongxiang warned him, don't get too cocky or you'll drag me down. Scene change. Fang Ping climbed out of the martial arts pond. A few female students by the pond were gossiping. It seems someone in swimwear keeps falling into the pond lately, but it looks more like they're falling in by accident. Isn't it cold? Is the person okay? Fang Ping was so cold his face turned pale. He couldn't help but complain in his heart. Is that old man Wang messing with me? I've been practicing the middle-tier sword technique lately. One strike can explode 35 points of vital energy. To recover the loss, I need 35,000 worth of assets. And with all sorts of strengthening elixirs, I've probably spent over $1 million in training costs. The money's fine, but now others are calling me a fool. It's so infuriating. At that moment, Fang Ping's phone suddenly rang. It was a call from Lee Sum-tak. Scene change. Fang Ping and Lee Sum-tak arrived at Dongsheng Company. Fang Ping held the Fuanqi sword, full of energy, while Lee Sum-tak nervously explained. The boss of the opposing company is a martial artist, a second-grade practitioner. They've been using some tricks to prevent our delivery personnel from going upstairs. Fang Ping, already irritated from his training, was frustrated and thought, I'll use this guy to practice my skills. At that moment, a man in a suit walked over, smiling, and extended his hand. I'm Wei Dongsheng from Dongsheng Company. You must be Fang Ping from Vianfang. It's an honor. Fang Ping ignored his pleasantries and bluntly said, Wei Dongsheng, your company is obstructing Vianfang's operations. Do you have anything to say about it? Wei Dongsheng smirked, then spread his arms wide, mockingly saying, Sir, take a good look. I'm a second-grade martial artist and you're only a first-grade. For a small issue like this, your company needs the boss to handle it personally. We, on the other hand, have over 100 regular employees. I think your tiny company should just hand it over to me so I can teach you how to run it. Fang Ping, uninterested in wasting words, said coldly, We're both martial artists, so let's settle this the martial artist way. Then, Fang Ping slammed the Fuanqi sword into the ground and said, I challenge you. If you win, Vianfang won't expand any further. If you lose, Dongsheng will learn to be more respectful. Wei Dongsheng scoffed confidently, I suggest we raise the stakes. If I win, I'll buy Vianfang for 2 million. If I lose, I'll pay you 3 million and Dongsheng will belong to you. He signaled his subordinates to bring over their weapons. Fang Ping smiled and said, Let's begin then. Wei Dongsheng drew his large sword and stepped forward. His subordinates stepped back in fear. Wei Dongsheng slammed his feet into the ground, first launching a strike toward Fang Ping. Fang Ping gripped the Fuanqi sword tightly with both hands and countered with a vertical slash. A loud crack sounded. Wei Dongsheng's right hand was shaken, and his large sword nearly flew from his grip. What? Wei Dongsheng was shocked. He blocked my strike and my hand is numb. Before he could react, the blade of Fuanqi's sword was already pressed to his throat. Fang Ping silently thought, martial artists in society are much weaker than I imagined. Using all his strength, he disabled Wei Dongsheng's arm. Looking at Wei Dongsheng lying on the ground, Fang Ping said coldly, You lost. With that, he turned and walked out. Director Lee Sum-tak, the takeover of Dongsheng is now your responsibility. Lee Sum-tak, watching Fang Ping leave, was filled with excitement. The CEO is so strong. The final meeting before the student exchange competition confirmed the team lineup. I want to be a member of the main team, a girl said in a frenzy. Fu Changding rushed into Fang Ping's dorm and shouted, Big news! The student exchange event is going public and will even be on national news. He held up his phone. Look at this. They're selling tickets for the event and will be streaming it live nationwide. He looked worried, then added, Martial artists' battles can be bloody. Do ordinary people accept that? Fang Ping turned calmly and said, So now you just realized. Fu Changding posed and said, Wasn't I busy secluding myself and training before? I've reached the first-grade peak. You know, if anything troublesome comes up, you can come to me. Fang Ping grinned slyly. I've been thinking lately, should I just break through to second grade for fun? Fu Changding was immediately drenched with cold water. Fang Ping continued talking about the public competition. My teacher already told me, the school won't allow the public to see the bloodiest scenes. There will be grandmasters controlling the situation, ensuring the death toll is kept low, so we'll be safe. Fu Changding rubbed his head and said, Fang Ping, I remember your family isn't martial artists. If they see you injured on the arena, they'll be so worried. Fang Ping smirked and started showing off. It's fine. They won't watch me getting hit. They'll only see me hitting others. In front of the practice building, the entire reserve team lined up. Tang Feng spoke up. Today is the last meeting before the competition. Everyone gather here. Out of the 10 of you, 5 will become members of the main team, and the other 5 will be reserves. If any main team member is injured or loses all their vital energy, the reserve members will take their place. The main team consists of Fang Ping, Jono, Fu Chengding, Yang Somin, and Dang Song Jiang. Fang Ping will be the team captain. The other 5 are the reserves. At that moment, Jiaxuimai suddenly shouted, "Teacher, I want to be on the main team." I challenged Dang Song Jiang. Dang Song Jiang laughed and said, "Xuimei, do you think I'm the weakest of the 5? All right, I accept your challenge." The challenge between Jiaxuimi and Dang Song Jiang began. With a loud cheer, both sides rushed in. Jiaxuimi took the initiative and attacked, her staff swiping downward. Dang Song Jiang blocked with his sword and grinned, "I've been training my upper body strength first. You can't beat me in terms of power." Immediately, he used both hands to apply force and swung his sword again. Jiaxuimi didn't fight head-on, but jumped to dodge the attack, then planted her staff on the ground and launched a rapid series of kicks. Fang Ping couldn't help but admire. Teacher Yu Bongyu once said, "Sui Mei had to work harder than ordinary people to preserve her family's legacy." A month ago, her strength was weaker than Dang Song Jiang's. Now, she can match him blow for blow. Dang Song Jiang faced Jiaxuimei's frenzied kicks, only able to defend with his sword. He gritted his teeth, thinking, "She's progressing so fast. I have to end this quickly." Immediately, he pushed Jiaxuimei away with force, then stomped his foot. The ground cracked open, and a fiery aura emerged. Jiaxuimei's staff was sliced away in one strike. Dang Song Jiang seriously continued to swing his sword. "It's over. Surrender." At that moment, Jiaxuimei, in the shocked eyes of everyone, saw the large sword suddenly stop mid-air. Jiaxuimei had grabbed it with her hand, but not by the blade. Blood flowed down the sword. Jiaxuimei gritted her teeth and said, "The outcome is still undecided, Dang Song Jiang." Dang Song Jiang twitched the corner of his mouth and said, "You don't have to take this so seriously. We used to be teammates after all." Ignoring his words, Jiaxuimei suddenly kicked upward. Dang Song Jiang's sword flew out of his hands, and his body fell hard to the ground. Jiaxuimei caught the falling sword and rushed toward Dang Song Jiang, stopping just in front of him. "I'm done. I surrender." Dang Song Jiang trembled and shouted, "Jiaxuimei wins." The main team lineup was finalized. Fang Ping, Jono, Fu Chengding, Yang Somin, and Jiaxuimei. Finally, the first National Martial Arts Student Exchange event officially began. A young man said, "I want to defeat a second-grade martial artist famous nationwide." Meanwhile, in the martial arts competition arena, the noise continued until it gradually settled. Suddenly, a strong voice came through the loudspeakers. "The martial arts exchange event is not a concert of celebrities. Everyone, quickly take your seats. No disruptions. This is the first time the Martial Arts University is open to the public. This martial arts competition must be taken seriously." The entire venue immediately fell silent.